All right, we are back. This is the CSRN podcast, our weekend review, where we come to you live from Mott Brent's library, and we'll talk about the things that we've done last week, the things that we're doing right now, and a few things that we got coming up in the future. What are we going to do right now? We're going to put on our intro video.
That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah, that way you can like, share, a comment. This is the CSRN podcast, our weekend review. We'll be right back.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare.
Now, the other thing that we've got to come to see now that many of us didn't see too well during the last 10 years, that is that racism
not guilty
is still alive in American society and much more widespread.
Broke his neck after Baltimore police.
A handful of protesters, a handful of criminals and thugs who...
Many in moments of anger, many in moments of deep bitterness, engage in riots. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
Mr. Gray's death was a homicide.
The Negro was freed from the bondage of physical slavery.
The athletes marched onto a stage.
But at the same time, the nation refused to give him land to make that freedom meaningful. Freedom without land to cultivate. Freedom and famine at the same time.
And create jobs for our people.
The Negro is to be free. He must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own emancipation proclamation. But I want to get the language right tonight. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful. Individually, we are poor when you compare us with white society in America. We are poor. Collectively, we are richer than all the nations in the world with the exception of 9. That's power right there if we know how to prove it. We begin the process of building a greater economic base. And at the same time, we are putting pressure where it really hurts. We don't have to argue with anybody. We just need to go around to these stores and to these massive industries in our country. Say, God sent us by here to say to you that you're not treating his children right. We come by here to ask you to make the first item on your agenda fair treatment where God's children are concerned. Now, if you're not prepared to do that, we do have an agenda that we must follow. Our agenda calls for withdrawing economic support from you. We mean business now, and we are determined to gain our rightful place in God's world.
All right, back. This is the CSRN podcast, a weekend review. We're streaming live from Mott Branch Library. So shout out to Mott Branch Library and all of the staff that lay out the red, black, and green carpet every week, unless otherwise notified that we're here. Let's get into some introductions. I'm Brother Washington Muhammad. I'm one of the co-founders of CSRN, along with Mike Leonardi and Jabril Bey, and an active and registered member of the Nation of Islam here in Toledo. And we are celebrating 94 years this year. And this February, we'll be having Savior's Day that marks the anniversary of the Nation of Islam. And I'm going to be sending out a link for everyone to donate. So I might be hitting you up. What am I wearing today? Today I have on my black hat, my brown rimmed glasses, and I have a shirt on that says all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter, which is half of our tag at the end. And I've got my beads on. And as always, I'm dedicated to respecting, protecting, and defending all Black bodies, no matter the cost, no matter the gains or loss. This is the home of Black Lives Matter, injustice or else. And we're doing it for the activist community and protest culture. And this is a welcome space. If you're trying to get it in, all right, and make something happen. Jody, I think that's it for my intro. If you could introduce yourself, then we're going to get into our mission statement, guiding principles. We'll take a short break, and we have a dynamite guest. I mean, we just don't miss, Jody. We just don't miss. All right. So if you can introduce yourself, let's get into our mission statement, and we'll keep it moving.
What's up, everybody? Jody J. Summers, child of the system, better known as Spoken Truth, the treasure of this wonderful organization that is going on. As he was mentioning, how many years was that?
Nation of Islam, 94 years.
Well, next week when we come back, we'll be celebrating
10 years.
10 years.
Oh, man.
10 years doing this every single Tuesday. Then some nights in between when we was heavy protesting and stuff like that. It was like 4 to 5 days a week. But
I was tired of all of y'all. Yeah. All right.
I think we was a little bit tired of everything, as you can see in some of the paintings right back there. Shout out to Barbie for immortalizing those images forever in history. Can't wait to see some museums around the country as we can. What is that word called again?
I don't know if we can have them on loan.
Yep. I think it starts with a C, but I forget it at the moment. But
consignment?
Anyway,
yes,
consignment. Yes,
okay.
So we can contract out. They can never own them because we own them. But
that's right.
If they want to pay us a fee to have it on tour and stuff like that, that's what it's there for. But I want to thank you.
I like what you're saying. All right.
We got lots of artwork, not just this recent stuff. We have other artwork over the years and stuff that people have donated or gave or that we created in the moments of stuff, even though they, little signs and stuff that flimsy, but they've been around for almost a decade, some of them.
That's right.
So we want to thank you for tuning in every single week. And the reason why we describe ourselves is because we want you to know who you're actually talking to. There's a lot of AI generated images and green screens and people who you run organizations and they have nothing to do with that culture. So I am a big brown black bear of a man that is covered in tattoos and crystals and stones and bones and artifacts from traveling, from being an artist, author, actor, stage and movie, running nonprofits. I literally have not bought a t-shirt in 8 years because shout out to Barbie for donating us these shirts, but that's where all my shirts are.
Well, she donated you. She didn't donate one to me, but
being treasurer has perks. But in essence, for that, for a little transparency for people, I have not bought a shirt in 8 years.
Okay.
I run boards. I visit DC. I go to marches. I go to protests. I go to food banks. I run food banks. So all of that comes with, outfit and stuff. Not outfit, but, that type of stuff. Right. I am the walking billboard. You will never see me in any of these corporation slave-owned name brands that, we forgot still employ slave labor to make your Nike. But you will see me in this type of stuff.
Okay.
Or my brand. She's back there, Leona, saying hello, since it is hoodie season. And, it's just like rainy all week. So my voice is a little raspy. Weather, I wish it was snowing right now. Honestly, I do. But it's going to be rainy all week here in Toledo. How do you get to this point, though? Because, we got an awesome guest coming up, right?
That's correct.
And I'm only doing all this stuff that you guys see me networking with about 100,000 people, at least putting it in their groups and stuff, because I don't talk in groups. But I will put it out there to the community because we don't expect nobody to do this for us. We are unsponsored, unbought, unpaid for. And it will always be that way as there's breath in my lungs being the treasurer. How do we get there, though? We have a mission statement
and our guiding principles,
which is like our walls and our foundations. Over the past decade, we've had people come in with some brilliant ideas that just wasn't quite what our mission statement was. Right. And we helped them grow their own organizations.
I was stretching it when you said brilliant, but all right.
Well, you know, they started their own things, though.
Oh, yeah, they did. Okay.
A few of them are still around, Toledo Food Not Bombs and stuff like that.
Okay, true. I'm going to let that one go. All right.
Grassroots organizations that, you know, needed just a little guidance before they found their own way. You know, it's kind of like life. Nobody's going to be on the same path with you, not even family, not even friends. They all got to diverge and go off into the unknown and find themselves. So this is the way that we find ourselves when me and Brother Washington are no longer in these seats. So the thing that we've spent our blood, sweat, tears, privacy, and everything like that on has a future and a legacy, no matter what Mike Tyson said.
All right.
We are the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo, formed on November 25th, 2014, the day after it was announced that the killer, a Ferguson, Missouri police officer of Michael Brown, an unarmed teenager, would not be indicted. We bring awareness to the injustices experienced by Black men, women, and children who are disproportionately murdered, provoked, attacked, and harassed by law enforcement. Police brutality has to end. We bring awareness to the fact that most often, yes, most often, police brutality goes without consequence and accountability. Police impunity has to end. We utilize the tactics of protest, civil disobedience, event disruption, and citizen advocacy to give voice, yes, voice to those who are otherwise voiceless. We facilitate progressive, community-based events that help foster self-development, and we discuss measures to hold local leadership accountable, yes, accountable to their sworn duties, be they politician, clergy, law enforcement, educators, etc., etc. We want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, yes, all, regardless of class, creed, or color. For all lives to matter, Black lives, yes, Black lives must matter. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
All right, and let's get into our guiding principles. And maybe next week we'll do our Black Lives Matter moment, because we're headed up to our 10-year anniversary.
Next week we'll be there.
And our guiding principles is how we treat each other as activists. And man, it's a difficult thing organizing with so many strong personalities. How do we do this together without imploding? That was the hard part. Mm-hmm. These are CSRN guiding principles. All Black lives matter, queer Black lives, trans Black lives, formerly and presently incarcerated Black lives, poor working class Black lives, wealthy Black lives, differently abled Black lives, Black men and women lives, immigrant Black lives, Black elderly and children lives. All Black lives matter and are the creators of this space. We throw no one under the bus. We rise together. Ashe.
Ashe.
And that means one who changes a thing or one who makes a thing happen. Thriving instead of surviving. Our vision is based on the world we want, not the one we're currently in. We seek to transform, not simply react. We want our people to thrive, not just exist. Think beyond the possible. Ashe.
Ashe.
Experimentation and innovation must be built into our work. Embrace the best tools, practices, and tactics, and leave those behind that no longer serve us. Ashe.
Ashe.
Evaluation and assessment must be built into our culture. Critical reflection must be a part of all of our work. We learn from our mistakes and our victories. Ashe.
Ashe.
Principled struggle can exist in a positive environment. We must be honest with one another by embracing direct, loving communication. Ashe.
Ashe.
Love, self-love is practiced in every element of all we do. Love and self-love must be a driver of our work and an indicator of our success. Without this principle and without healing, we will harm each other and undermine our movement. Ashe.
Ashe.
360-degree vision. We honor past struggles and wisdom from elders. The work we do today builds the foundations of movements of tomorrow. We consider our mark on future generations. Ashe?
Ashe.
Self-care means we build resilient spaces by budgeting time, energy, and resources for healing. Self-care is a regular, consistent, intentional, and essential practice. Ashe?
Ashe.
The most directly effective people are experts at their own lives and should be in leadership at the center of our movement and telling their stories directly. Ashe?
Ashe.
Training and leadership development should be fundamental. Our movement must constantly grow and leadership must constantly multiply. Ashe.
Ashe.
Jody, let's take a short break. We're going to come back with our special guest. And hopefully next week we'll have our B camera so that we can show kind of behind the scenes of how many people that you're sharing and whatever I'm supposed to be doing over here. I don't know. But hey, we're going to take a short break and come right back. This is the CSRN podcast, our week in review. We'll be right back.
If you can ride a bike without falling, then you're good to go. Bike Rides Matter, it's a community bike group. We get together for fun, fitness, and fellowship. We ride weekly. Right now we got a Tuesday ride where we ride on the UT Trail. We do Saturday right here at Uptown Green. That's our glow roll Saturday night. It was something I was already doing with my daughter, just riding bikes, and we just decided it would be cool to add the community because we were just finding ways to make fun given the situation. Being that everything was closed down and options were limited, bike riding is one of those things you can do without any restrictions.
You get to make new friends and just like interact with people, especially during COVID. You still like have your mask on and stuff, but it's still good to like see people.
It's a cool way to stay fit. We talk while we riding, we got music while we riding. I've met quite a few new friends and new people. I made some real cool connections throughout the city. Take advantage of the time you have. Take advantage of this pandemic. I know it's a lot of restrictions, but you can be creative and find new ways to have fun, one of which is this right here.
Canal. En esta hermosísima ciudad de Orlando.
I'm here in Barranquilla, Colombia, and in sunny Miami. Daytona Beach, mis amigos, that's where we're at today.
Desde la ciudad de Cartagena, Colombia.
We are in Orlando right now, here in Florida.
I'm Helene Sheets, Director of Marketing and Communications at beautiful Lourdes University, and we've been a proud sponsor and supporter of Voces Latinas TV for over a decade. It has been a fantastic partnership. It's been our doorway into the Latino community. We've met so many incredible people, created so many partnerships. Our students absolutely love the connections we've made through Voces Latinas TV, and we're looking forward to at least another decade, 2 decades.
All right, we are back. This is the CSRN podcast, our weekend review, where we come to you live from my branch library. All right, I know you're saying, okay, where's Jody? Well, Jody's not here. We have a tradition in CSRN. Whenever we have a guest, we ask their name, what are they wearing, and what are we talking about? So, Peggy, who are you? What are you wearing today? You got an awesome button on, and what are we talking about?
I am Peggy Daly-Masternak. I am the coordinator for the I-475 Neighborhoods Coalition. Started 4.5 years ago after ODOT announced that they wanted to widen I-475 between Douglas Road and US 23 here in Toledo. What I'm wearing. Not usually asked that. I have on a burgundy hoodie and my button that says, this is our, emphasized our neighborhood, don't widen I-475. And a relatively new t-shirt because I was out.
All right.
So needed some new ones.
That's
and
what's up.
Yeah, favorite blue jeans and sneakers.
All right. Okay, so the I-475 group, Neighborhood Coalition.
Correct.
How did that start and why did it start?
Well, ODOT sent a mailing to area people. I don't know how far reaching it was.
Okay.
Saying that they planned on widening I-475. This was back in 2020 at the height of the pandemic.
Yeah.
On 5 days notice, we created some flyers and started walking them door to door. And on 5 days notice, literally at the height of the pandemic, it was August of 2020, we gathered outside, social distance, masks, all of that was required back then. And more than 100 people came up for the first meeting on 5 days notice. Mostly neighbors, but some other local people who see that there's something that we could have in Toledo that would be far better than more asphalt and more car-centric culture.
Now, before we get into everything, I downloaded the 10-point manifesto. All right.
Yeah.
This is dynamic because I can go anywhere right now and it would appear that I know what I'm talking about just by citing some of the things that you research and put into this. I want to start with the personal aspect of this. Then I want to go into some of the local and then the national. Okay, so personally, why are you involved in this? What makes you, Peggy, that will be involved in something like this?
I was born in in Pennsylvania, they have what they're called boroughs, small little communities. The very first borough outside of Pittsburgh proper. So we were right across the Pittsburgh line. Where I grew up was historically, my family's has many roots on that hillside that I grew up in. And if anybody knows Pittsburgh, you know that there are hills everywhere. My great-grandfather and his brother farmed on that hillside. It was called Cabbage Hill, and it was because it was immigrant cabbage farmers who farmed that land. And my house happened to be right down the street from that, and I grew up in a 3-generation household. So this was my grandmother's, who I knew every day of my life.
Okay.
This was her father's farm, along with 23 other German immigrants. At this time, turn of the century in 1900 to 1915, the city of Pittsburgh wasn't as big as it is now. There used to be another city called Allegheny City. And anybody who knows Pittsburgh, if you know the north side, if you go there for the sports, you were in what was Allegheny City. The people in Allegheny City had no running water. They were drinking raw river water. And if anybody knows the history of Pittsburgh, they know that it was an industrial city.
Yeah.
So typhoid was rampant. And people were dying like crazy over the idea that they didn't have clean water to drink. So I don't know how. I've gone to Pittsburgh and studied the history of this.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how the city of Pittsburgh was eventually able to annex a part of the community that I grew up in. It was like a donut cut out of that neighborhood. And what they did was created a reservoir because we were on a hill. And that hill was where my grandfather and 23 other immigrant German farmers were farming. They took that land and created a massive, it was state of the art for the time, reservoir. And what it did was it took it by eminent domain. The 23 farmers lost their land by eminent domain. This was not only my grandfather's livelihood, it was also his personal way of feeding his family.
All right.
But it was all taken. But I see now, in retrospect, I'm sure that had to be crucially hard for the people who were there. But there was a major public purpose for it. They were actually saving lives in Allegheny City. And so I remember that story. And that's my personal history. It comes from my family. And whenever I saw that the I-475 neighborhood, especially that it was and is going to take people's property,
right,
it was catalyst for me to really get actively involved. Although the whole 40 years that I've been in Toledo, I've been very active in a lot of different things.
Well, the way that the person from ODOT spoke about it was that at most it was going to take maybe a foot of somebody's property. The way that they spoke about it yesterday was as if that stretch right there, and he said that was the busiest. When he was called on it, he had, changed his tune. So let's go local. Mm-hmm. I've got a 10-point. It's the top 10 reasons to oppose the I-475 expansion in West Toledo, and this was compiled by the I-475 Neighborhoods Coalition. These are up-to-date numbers. What's one of the most significant, if you could, of the top 10 reasons to oppose the I-475 expansion?
As you can see in the very first paragraph, Brother Washington, they know who this will harm. They say it's predominantly residential. I'm quote for all that I'm going to tell you next. They say it's predominantly residential. They say that the people who live there are either senior citizens, minority populations, people with limited English proficiency, or those people who are low income. That is historically the people who are always marginalized for any decision that gets made. So for instance, the seniors, there's senior residences right up against this expressway, but they were not calculated into ODOT's maps to try to, even though they write all of this, if they know who it's going to harm, when they created a map, they skewed the map. So all the senior complexes, I can say West Park Place on Executive Parkway, the Secor Senior Lofts right on Monroe and Secor, Oakley Village out in Sylvania, and a whole bunch of others in between. They were zoned commercial, and that's how they were counted by ODOT. Meanwhile, 1,400 people live in those places. And so the idea that they aren't even considered people, their commercial development is all that ODOT calculated. So the harms, they know who they're going to harm. They're going to do it anyway, according to them.
Okay. I'm just looking through here, and it talks about the taxpayer costs are extreme for completely unnecessary highway expansion. And there's padded contracts, there's escalating costs, corporate handouts. Man, you pretty much laid it out in here. How do we even get there?
To their numbers?
Yeah.
Because their own documentation, which they have posted at their website, and they do revise it, so you have to stay on top of it.
Okay.
But they put up at their website what was called a feasibility study. That's the big chunk, and it's thousands of pages. When you pour over those thousands of pages, you get to things like the construction contracts have contingencies and escalation clauses. When those two are combined, because they back one on top of the other, first the contingencies get applied, then they take that number and they apply escalation clauses. It's 61% pad on the contract. Now compare that. Commissioner Gherkin told me that the pad for the Lucas County Jail is 5%. My husband worked, this was his life's work. He was a plant up on Lasky Road, and what he had to do was write capital contracts.
Okay.
And the pad for him was about 5%. really rare circumstances, he said maybe up to 10, but that was extremely rare. And that was to plan for the idea that something was very, very long term, was going to take years to accomplish. And so when you have a 61% pad, who's getting all that money?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. The cost right now before property taking and before design is $217.5 million out of ODOT's $11.5 million budget. Biennial budget is I misspoke. $11.5 billion with a B dollar budget. And out of that $11.5 billion, ODOT earmarks 1.1% for public transit and 0.3% for rail. So when you have 98% of the funds going to highways, that's how you get constant expansions, because they have to justify those budgets or they don't get them the next time.
All right. When the representative he talked about the need for this expansion, and he cited some numbers regarding that space there.
Mm-hmm.
And he had cited that was the most busy section. He said that had more traffic. He ended up recanting that, but he had said that was busier than any intersection. I mean, any stretch of a highway. But I'm looking at your data that says Lucas County population continues to decline, and that the highway is not congested with average delays of about 1 minute. So why would he say one thing right in front of the city council and the commissioners, and we've got data that states the other?
Okay. So that's not my data. That is their data that they report up to the Federal Highway Administration. There is a massive database. Again, if I'm good at anything, I'm really good at research, and I'm not afraid of a spreadsheet, and I'm not afraid of 1,000 pages worth of information. So when you pour into the information, you go to the Federal Highways Administration Freight Mobility Database. They look at bottlenecks for freight all around the country. Any given year, there's 11 to 12,000 listed in that database. The number one bottleneck in the country is the Cross Bronx Expressway in New York City, I-95.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now.
Right. The average delay there is 47 minutes. In this stretch, as reported by ODOT, because the Federal Highway Administration isn't calculating this data themselves, they're taking it from every DOT in the country. And the Federal Highways Administration has these two pieces of roadway, eastbound and westbound, 475 from Douglas Road to US 23. The average delay on the westbound is 1.2 minutes. The average delay on the eastbound is 1 minute. So if you're tapping your brakes during rush hour, you are doing that in any city in America. Evening rush hour, morning rush hour. What we presented yesterday was a collection. We could give them more, but we gave them a collection showing traffic reports from WTOL. We showed them blade photographs. We showed them WTVG afternoon rush hour, where there's no cars on this road. So they claim congestion, that they have to come up with a purpose and need to meet federal requirements. Their purpose says congestion. Their purpose says safety. The safety, they never give you the context of the safety. So for instance, 2 fatalities and 4 serious accidents. That's their claim in their study period. The 2 serious injuries, neither person was wearing a seatbelt. The 2 fatalities, neither person was wearing a seatbelt. In many cases, the cars leave the roadways, indicating a high rate of speed. There was alcohol involved in one of the serious injuries. There was a motorcycle. There was, all these different contexts. All they do is try to alarm people by saying, well, in our study period, there were 2 fatalities and 4 serious injuries. So they should be challenged on, what were the extenuating circumstances that you're not reporting? You're just trying to justify what it is that you're going to do to the neighborhoods.
All right. Now, I want to go to the national aspect of this, but I'm looking at this, and I've got another question to ask you. Mm-hmm. All right. Based on what ODOT wants to do, they base it on studies, and they'll come back and say, hey, listen, Brother Washington, we did our study, and November 2024, here's what's happening. Mm-hmm. However, when you look at what their plans are based on, one study is from 2002, one study is from 2007. So why would they want, I don't know if you could even answer this, why would they want to use outdated studies for what they want to do in 2024? Make that make sense to me if you can, Peggy.
I'll go back to the money. If you are a bureaucrat in any department, if you don't use your budget, you don't get that budget next year.
Okay.
That might mean that you have to lay off a person, or that might mean that you know, all this, whatever it is that you've been working for, maybe you won't be able to see it in your budget this year. They have to justify that, and they get so much money that they aren't dedicated. In my view, what I'm now saying is this: they're called the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Okay.
They should revert back to the name that they were before they were called that. That was the Ohio Highways Department, because that's all they care about.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ohio Department of Thieves. I'm always thinking that. All right.
The amount of money, and this, you talked about the national,
right?
The national, there is fight back against highway expansions in city after city. I'm part of a national network. We meet monthly, discuss monthly what's going on. And if I could, I'm going to hold up and recommend one book. I do it this way. Yes.
Yes. Okay. That is correct.
This is called City Limits. It's by a woman named Megan Kimball. She's part of that national group that I'm talking about. She's an investigative reporter out of Austin, Texas, and she just completed the book this year. It was just released this year, and the local library has a couple copies. I'd like to see them have more. It gives not only the history of how we got to the interstates, and I can talk about that if you'd like, but it also gives current stories about the struggles that people, and a lot of them are people of color that she is talking about in the book, trying to deal with. I just bought this home, and now they come along 2 weeks later and tell me they're expanding a highway next to my home. These are being fought back in city after city after city. And finally, some politicians in those cities are standing with their residents and their activists and saying, no, we have enough. So Megan's in Austin, Texas. In Austin right now, and it's $1 billion project. I don't remember how many billions. In Austin, Texas, they wanted to Texas DOT wants to take an existing I-35 from 12 lanes immediately to 20 lanes. They have in Texas a road called the Katy Highway. It goes from Katy to Houston.
Okay.
And the Katy Highway in parts is 26 lanes wide. Now you go and you look on a website, you look at Google and you type in an image of Katy Highway and you will see it is a bumper to bumper snarl, okay, on the 26 lane wide Katy Highway. This is caused by a thing called induced demand. And that's another thing you can Google to get a deeper understanding of it. But induced demand goes, we don't eliminate congestion. We just cause more congestion. The more lanes, the more congestion that you bring.
All right. I've got about 5 minutes left. And I wanted to talk about how 75 and 475 impacted poor families of Toledo, and brings us to here.
Right. So 1956, Eisenhower lost control of what he foresaw coming back from the Second World War. He wanted to see highways connect one city to the next.
Yeah.
Instead, he gave it to the wrong people when they ran wild with it. Eventually, Congress allocated enough money that instead of states having to pick up the tab, 90% of the funding for every interstate in this country came from the federal government. So cities went wild, right? And that's how we wound up with the plans for I-75 and I-475. So I-75, we have documentation from the Plans Commission that shows just from I-280 down to the river, over 4,000 people were displaced. And I think it was 4,900 actually. and 1,700 occupied, 92% or better occupancy on the homes that were destroyed. The homes were in red line districts. The homes were in immigrant working class neighborhoods, all destroyed. If anybody is traveling down I-75 and you're questioning, why is this big S-curve around the Toledo Museum of Art? It's because you're literally driving through what was then a red line district. I've seen the maps. What you had on I-475 to compare was all white community. It was white from 75 all the way out to US 23. And so what we believe is that all of the displaced families who couldn't get past the structural racism and classism that was being done to the families on I-75, eventually their children or grandchildren are now the ones who have moved into the neighborhoods on 475. It's very diverse. And, the diversity extends literally out to Sylvania. It's certainly more still white out there, but what had been complete white population is now about an 80-20. So closer to Toledo Hospital, it's actually majority by about 2 percentage points, majority people of color. And so we are just taking the same harms that were inflicted on the ancestors of these people and placing it onto the backs of people who can ill afford to have it. Their property values will decrease. Their health will be impacted by this. The American Lung Association says asthma, dementia, premature death, all are factors that have to do with the particulates that come off of highways. The American Audiological Association Society will tell you that you start to lose your hearing at about 70 decibels. And we were measuring peaks of 102 using CDC approved apps on our phone, following all the instructions to use them. One woman inside her home was peaking at 102 decibels. That's starting to approach like the takeoff of a jet engine.
Right.
And so the health harms, the economic impact, the idea that we don't want to live in a disconnected community anymore. We want those communities reconnected in something much, much better. And I could go into, I know you're short on time, but the economic disinvestment that Toledo is shorting itself on by allowing this highway to be expanded is in the extreme.
All right. What are the next steps before they start to dig the first shovels?
Community engagement is crucial here. We finally, after a year and a half of lobbying for it, we finally got that joint hearing that happened yesterday.
Right.
I'm told that was completely unique. They've never held a joint hearing on anything before. So I'm gratified that they took this seriously enough to have a hearing, but I also fully expected that somebody would introduce a resolution to say, like so many other cities that I listed yesterday, there are unanimous decisions being passed in city and county governments as close as Ann Arbor. It was a unanimous decision to oppose an expansion to US 23 and from their city council. That was what I was hoping for out of our city and county government. I was disappointed that that didn't come. So it still needs to be done. We've worked really hard for a year and a half trying to show them not only the harms, but also what they could be doing instead. And I was disappointed in that yesterday. I was pleased for the opportunity to finally speak, but there's a lot more work to be done. So people need to really engage on this very, very strongly.
Peggy, can we have you to come back? Because we want to revisit this again. We want to keep this on the forefront of the activist community and the protest community so that we can generate more and more boots and feet on the ground so that we can have our voices heard.
Absolutely.
Right. Hey, listen, I see Jody's giving me that signal. Peggy, thank you for coming through. This is awesome. Hey, family, we're going to be right back. This is the CSRN podcast, our week in review.
Pathway Incorporated Brothers United program believes that children are important. Every day we support and advocate for fathers because when children have involved fathers, the whole community thrives. The fathers that come into the Brothers United program are mostly young fathers who are primarily gang members or drug dealers or those involved in lots of trauma from the time when they were youth until now. The program has fatherhood classes, which teach you about your role as a father, the importance of being a father, healthy relationships, how to co-parent and work better together with your co-parent, and then economic stability, how to get a job, how to keep a job. It is so important for fathers to learn to take care of their children holistically, not just emotionally, not just physically, but financially as well, because children need a holistic approach.
I really just needed help with really being a better father and looking for a job to be able to support my kids.
Some of the problems I was facing when I joined Brothers United was communication with my children. Had some time apart from each other for a while, so they gave me the tools to really get back in communication with them.
Fathers will come into our program with their heads down. 2 weeks later, their heads are up. 3 weeks later, they're laughing and talking. 4 weeks later, they're building a bond. And by the time we get to 8 weeks, they're saying, hey, we want to stay here. What can we do to stay connected?
It gave me a better perspective on how to look at things from other people's point of view. You know, sometimes us as men, we get caught up in being prideful and arrogant, thinking we don't need the help. We do. And we just have to put our pride, selfishness, and arrogance to the side. And when the help is there, take it.
Hope plays the most important role in everything that we do, because we have to have hope. We have to remember that fathers are important, and we have to not only say it, but we have to live it, we have to breathe it, we have to do it, we have to convey it to everyone.
Let's get a BU Nation on 3, fellas. 1, 2, 3, BU Nation!
The dads give us hope. The dads supply for us on the days when it gets hard. On the days when we've seen more violence than we ever want to see. On the days when we've lost some dads to jail or to murder, they give us hope. And so the hope that lives can change, if you invest in them, if you believe in them, then lives can change.
Brothers United changed my life, let's say, because of where I come from, what I've been through. I learned to understand it is help out there. Don't be scared to ask for it. If you don't reach, you can't grab. That's it.
They made me more employable, more desirable by employers, which in turn helped me provide for my family and provide for my children and my grandchild. So it makes me a better man, a better father, and a better example.
It showed me like how to be better to my kids, so I went and got custody of my son. My son been with me for a couple months now. So this showed me how to be a better parent all around, just a better man, period.
Initially, I didn't know that it could change men's lives. I didn't know that fathers could change. But it's amazing to me when fathers come back a year later, 2 years later, and tell us thank you. Or they'll make a Facebook post and say, look at what I'm doing now. It's amazing to me about the level of work that we've been able to do and the lives that we've changed in just a short period of time. And the fathers who come back and say, thank you, I needed you, and you were there.
And shout out to Brothers United, man. Be you.
All right, we are back. This is the CSRN podcast, our weekend review. Big shout out to Peggy Daly-Masternak from the I-475 Neighborhoods Coalition. If you want to reach them, we're going to put their Gmail up is i.475group@gmail.com. Just email them and say, hey, listen, we heard you on the podcast, or Brother Washington told us to email you, and we want to be put on your mailing list. So they still have mail out there, and you can get involved because this is not over. And just as police brutality, food deserts, substandard education are some of those things, Jody, that are on the forefront. Wow, taking the land. I mean, that's that's important too. I mean,
that is very true.
That's how the hell we got here. All right.
Process of
All
everything
right.
that's going on where you don't own not a thing, not a thing, not a thing. AI owns it all and it's teaching your children how to think, how to react, and all the other good stuff.
All right. You know, there was a couple of things that I wanted to go over. One is the Youth Matters Day. Let's see, when is that? That's going to be Sunday, the 24th. That's from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. is at the Glass City Enrichment Center. And that's on your part of town.
Yep.
That's on, all right, it's across the bridge.
Not the Glass City Center. I know the names are similar. The Glass City Center used to be Seagate, but this is the Enrichment Center. So, you know, just one word in between there, which means you're on the east side.
Okay. And you're going to be there?
I will most likely. I mean, I'm ward chair. So.
Okay. You got to be there. All right. And also CSRN, we contributed, you know, to making sure the young people had something there as CSRN does. We like to support the Junction Coalition, and really I like to support Gutter Dave because he does a lot of things with the young people.
Yep.
And I know that I'm kind of, I don't want to say that I'm far from being young, all right? At least by 5 or 6 decades, but I love to support the young people that are doing this work on the front line of this work. And if we can do anything to lighten their load, we can, you know, that's what's up. And there was something else I wanted to share. I don't know why I don't have it loaded in my, I had the final call. Give me 1 second, Jody. I'm going to go to I'm going to go to our folder and pull up the final call, front page of the final call this week. Man, I'm doing that as talking and doing it. All right. All right.
You get better and better.
All right. This week's edition of the Final Call newspaper, the headline is "The Wheel and the Days of Allah." I don't know if anybody knew, but last week in Congress, they have that subject about right. Yep. And it's a former military and government officials call for full disclosure of UFOs. I'm just going to read the first paragraph so that you know I don't have my tinfoil cap on. And this is something that Americans in the world has been concerned about for an awfully long time. It says a joint hearing of subcommittees within the House Oversight and Accountability Committee about alleged government research on unidentified anomalous phenomena, that's called UAP, formerly known as UFOs. House members received testimonies of former military and government officials. They allege that decades of evidence proving their existence, along with research on recovered craft, have been purposely withheld from Congress and the American people. Now, some people might say, well, Brother Washington, why are you talking about it? Well, as a member of the Nation of Islam, we've been taught about these wheels since 1930, the existence of them and the reality of them. And the government knows. And unfortunately, Hollywood has cartoonized it to make you think that these are green people with those. You ever seen those pictures with the green people with the big old eye?
The gray people.
Yeah, and it's anything other than that. If I say anything more, you might not get the final call. So hey, look, if you see me out with the final call newspaper this weekend, pick up the final call newspaper, read that article, and also double back toward Associated Press, Reuters, and some of and USA Today, and some of those other news outlets that are running those stories about how the government is covering up the existence of these wheels and a lot more. Jody, I think I said enough for that for this week. But get that paper, get that Final Call newspaper. It's a great chance you may not see that in a lot of other publications, but get that newspaper and come holler at me. Jody, I think that's it for me. What do you got going on? Some of the things that you've been involved in, and some of the things that you think we need to know about.
All right, and in other news, things that were going on, I'll go take you back to Wednesday and let you see some of the timeline that I have going on. Not everything, because I don't necessarily see all of my invites to all the stuff going on, but just here's some stuff that's going on in the art world that happened since our last show. Starting with Wednesday, there was Irie Open Jam with Usain Jackson at 3560 Dorr Street. Thursday, which I am board member of the Toledo Advisory Board, and can't wait till next month because spent most of the time there. We had the Tarta Community Update, Transforming the Region, on things coming up in everything for the future, new buses, new lines, all the other stuff. And found out in the process of that my board, because there's been some changes to some bus lines, and I'm on the board that actually changes those changes. So it was an interesting time. They had good juice out. I saw a lot of people. There was also there was something else going on. Was it the African American leadership? No. There was another event going on at that time. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it. It was over at the, what is it? Because they're all Glass City now. So it's not the center. It's the one by the water. But they were having an event over there for Legacy. What is it? Lucas County Legacy Commission.
I don't know. Let's move on to the next one.
Leadership. That's what it was. The Lucas County Leadership.
They know who they are.
Meetings and stuff like that. So they had their meeting, and this comes back. There was several other things going on during this time. Again, most of the stuff that I'm going to tell you is the art that's going on in the community, maybe some stuff about boards and everything like that. Also, Thursday on the 14th, we had at the Toledo Funny Bone was the Menopause is Back.
Oh, that's Cookie.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
She had her show. Wish I could make it, but I don't like going places by myself no more. And I'm not dating or anything like that. So, I don't want to be the one person in the audience that's just at the table by
You should have called me. All right. I could have busted out. All right. Dude. All right.
But Friday, November 15th, we had poetry, reading, wine, and sip at 5641 Main Street, Sylvania, Ohio. We had Cheesecake Live at the Golden Road in Toledo, Ohio. And coming up on Saturday, November the 16th, there was actually a 4-bar, and I can only got things for 3 of them.
Okay.
But Dee Brown, if you guys know me, you know her. She used to have art studio. We do Cat Fest every year, where we had all hands on deck with 4 different bars: Mixwell's, Northside, Rock Wheeling on the Rocks, and Venue 18. So they all had, and there was another one, but I don't see it on my list here, and I don't want to. But all of them had a benefit concert, so 4 different locations where you could drop off stuff for hurricane relief. And then on Saturday turned out to be, and that's also going to be part of 5 Minutes of Heat. We had a Friendsgiving poetry and paint, which was awesome. I got to see my friend One Single Rose, or Rosemary Wilson, perform live and all that other stuff. She was the judge. If you guys knew about the poetry slam that we had last week at the Collinwood Arts Center, and Darius Simpson did a live painting of someone who was supposed to be at our open mic, but unfortunately he Sudoku'd himself.
Oh, so he's painting people that didn't even show?
No, he didn't make it. Yeah, Sudoku. I say Sudoku because I'm so used to instead of the other word.
Oh man! All right, now I feel bad.
Yeah. So I met him. His name was June. I met him back in August when we were doing the paint and poetry, or the poetry on the patio and stuff. Saw him literally last Saturday because he's been to a couple of things and he was so excited and everything. And I want to say it was that Monday or maybe that Tuesday. Depends on when I got the date for this poem. But I saw on my social media and stuff. He knows a lot of people like Robin, and She Speaks, and that's family.
Yeah, I saw her post about June too.
So it's again one of those instances where I work in the mental health field and trauma and safety and domestic violence. So another person that I know of in my career has now taken their time from this planet.
Okay.
So we had a celebration of life for him. It was awesome. Shout out to Code and everybody that showed up. I believe our next one is in December, and hopefully it will not be a celebration of life, but
all right,
that is how life goes. So for things upcoming that you may have not missed, and shout out to Rob Pasker. He had his realist event. At least I saw it online. I'm always seeing stuff online that I wish I could make or I can't make and all that other good stuff. But tomorrow is Connect Toledo annual meeting at the Lucas County Library tomorrow at 5 p.m. So if you want to make that, you can. And coming up on the rest of the week, we have not much. Oh, this Friday, if you know about Black-owned entrepreneurship. See, I've recently put my tongue ring back
That's
in.
right. I got you.
I haven't had it in
I got
since
you.
like May.
I'm over here and I got your back. Okay.
For the audience, yes, my tongue ring is back in. I'm learning to re-talk with it again because it's been out since May. But got it when I was 18. There's no point in taking it out now. Toll House is the 3-year anniversary, 1447 North Summer Street. I believe tickets and early bird might still be on sale. That is Friday at 7 o'clock. This Saturday at 11 a.m. is a holiday shopping event at 2708 Glenwood. Shout out to Deep Flame Candles. Person, you guys haven't met her. She's the reason why I be smelling so good all the time, because that's the only person I buy my oils from.
Okay, all right.
And then, as he said, Youth Day Matters is this Sunday, 1 p.m. at the Glass City Center. Not the one downtown, the one on the east side. So you should look at the address, go to Front Street. And I believe that is everything until we come back, because Black Friday pop-up shop and stuff won't be. We'll be back before our, what is it, 10-year anniversary.
That's right.
So we come back on the 18th. So that'll be the week of, because when we do come back on the 25th, we're already 10 years old.
Oh, yeah. Okay. If you want to support us, we'd like for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like, share, and comment. We're looking to have, Jody, 100,000 subscribers. All right. And then after that, they'll send us something in the mail. We got a ways to go, but hey,
it's got to start somewhere.
All right. If anybody wants some more of the Black Lives Matter yard signs, we have just a few left of those, $20 each. Hit us up on our inbox and we'll bring one out to you.
Yep, or even a defund sign.
Oh yeah, we've got the defund the Toledo Police in the University of Toledo colors. All right.
Yep,
that's what's up. Yep. Contact us, inboxes. We'll bring them out to you. If you want to support us, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe, like it, and hit the notification. That way, whenever we have a podcast, you'll know. If you want to support us via Cash App, that's hashtag CSRN 419. PayPal is CSRN 419. And as soon as Jody get out of his feelings, we're going to start posting on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Because he's about to be running the country.
Hey, okay, well. Okay.
Bought himself that $1 million bribery case for the
okay.
But anyway.
Yeah, come on now. All right. We just tried to share on Twitter. All right. We didn't ask for all of that. We just tried to share on Twitter.
Was that for nothing to survive us?
All right.
Yeah,
hey,
I wrote.
All right, those are our community shout outs and solutions. I want to do a transition to 5 minutes of heat and let everyone know what 5 minutes of heat is. When we were meeting in person for the last 10 years, if we were meeting in person, before we close out a meeting, we don't do the Roberts rules by adjourning or whatever. We don't have a gavel. We use creative expression. Mm-hmm. And we called it 5 minutes of heat because we're going to end on a good note, because doing this type of work is labor intensive, is trauma centered, because I'm going to be telling you what's wrong. All right, what's going on with the police, what's going on with 475, what's going on. So we have kind of a spiritual palate cleanser. So Jody, what do we have today for 5 minutes of heat?
So as I said, earlier, and this is probably my third time performing it. It was written 11/12 at 2:38 p.m. So I'm not sure if it was before I found out or after I found out, but it's dedicated to him. I've performed it a couple of times. I performed it at the Friends Thanksgiving paint and sip and stuff. So today's piece is actually dedicated to June. It's called Just a Question. And let's begin. Peace. See, I'm waiting on Brother Washington to put his fist up like he normally does.
All right. I thought you were going to do the intro. All right.
Oh, we could do the intro.
Let's go.
So if you ever get a chance to see me perform live, I don't do my intros or my videos or interviews and stuff because time constraints and everything. But if you book me for a show, which is about 250 appearance plus transportation, hotel, all that other stuff, currently, this is the intro that I give before I open up the stage for 20, 30, or maybe an hour set, because I can go for hours. I am an open book, yes, an open book to those that decide to read. 1,000 words, yes, 1,000 words to those who've only caught a glimpse of me. And a lifetime, yes, a lifetime to those that can say they were part of my story. If you are anywhere under the sound of my voice, you are now family. Because on this stage, yes, on this stage is where I share the most vulnerable parts of myself. And I hope, yes, I hope that you hear me. So let's begin. Peace. Just a question. How many people walk through your soul? How many glimpses of other lives and social media and slight whispers walk through the places you find peace at? It's a question I often ask myself as I grow older, then hit with a smell, a sound, a phrasing that takes me back to a moment when I thought I had a connection with someone. How many people do you keep with you as you walk through the shattered realms of dreams and tie-dyed nightmares? Are you really this vessel just holding on to ghosts of memories that once were, can never, no, never be again? Silently slipping through generations of people, whispering to them the memories you once had. I haven't said much in a while. I've been blissfully letting my aura captivate those who get a moment to know me. Not recording my tapestry of memories once known, the solitary thread of lines that will be read by generations who might not get a chance to know me. How many people walk through your soul, getting glimpses of people you once knew as they go on to tell stories about this chance meeting you? In peace.
And as always, we snap our fingers at the end of that. All right, Jody, I want to thank you once again for delivering our 5 minutes of heat. Big thanks to Peggy, Daly-Masternak, for coming in and talking about the I-475 and how that's going to impact so many people. And big shout out also, and rest in peace, June. Shout out to Junction Coalition for the Youth Lives Matter Day. And as always, all lives can matter.
Did have one more thing to say.
Okay, Jody.
Okay. So, because I do a whole bunch of publications, and I believe I put it on our page and stuff, my Voyager magazine interview just came out. So hopefully you get a chance to check that out, because I'm not going to talk about it next week because then it'll be old. But if you want to see it, I'll be getting hard copies that we'll be able to have on our table and stuff, and one for Brother Washington signed and autographed for that soon. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna wait just 2 seconds.
See if I got
David, yeah, but it's all good because all lives can't matter until what
Black lives matter,
and Black lives can't matter until all Black lives matter. Justice or else.
Yeah.
Peace. Right. All right. Great job. All right. We are